Welcome to Down to Business with V, a show dedicated to bringing you actionable information to help protect you, your families, your businesses, and the community. I'm your host, V, and today we're discussing NFTs, security, and authentication, and how NFTs are helping to fight fraud. We've called in a fintech expert to help bring insight to the subject. And as always, we'll share with you what to do if you've been a victim of fraud. Let's get down to business. From Atlanta, Georgia, to becoming a United States Marine, to Washington, D.C., and every place in between, everybody calls me V. My goal is to bring you resources, education, and knowledge from sources you can trust that informs and protects to safeguard our families, our businesses, and the community. Now let's get down to business. Welcome to Down to Business with V. I'm your host, V, and today we're discussing NFTs, security, and authentication. I have in the studio with me fintech expert Merrick Theobald, Vice President of Marketing at BitPay. Merrick has more than 25 years experience in the fintech industry. Currently, he's the Vice President of Marketing for BitPay. BitPay builds powerful enterprise-grade tools for crypto acceptance, payouts, and spending. Prior to BitPay, Merrick held marketing leadership roles in Bilmo, iSend, and Check-Free Fiserv. He resides in North Atlanta. Welcome, Merrick.
Thank you, V. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes.
I love the introduction. You can do that anytime.
Wonderful. I enjoyed it as well. Well, Merrick, we are so glad to have you in the studio today via Zoom. Our team is excited about all the information that you're bringing to us. And I mentioned earlier with the crew that you and I spent some time on panels regarding cryptocurrency and futures technologies and got to talk about what it is that BitPay does and how you're helping consumers. So even though we're going to be talking about NFTs today, tell our audience a little bit about what BitPay does and how it's making crypto accessible for our everyday consumer.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, BitPay was founded in 2011, so that was at the infancy of cryptocurrency. As you know, Bitcoin was founded in 2009, so shortly after Bitcoin was founded. But BitPay, we enable companies and merchants around the world to accept cryptocurrency without having to touch it, buy it, store it, hold it, or deal with any of the perceived volatility of the cryptocurrency. So in theory, we are a crypto payment processor focused only on cryptocurrency.
So Merrick, let's dive into the topic today. We're talking about NFTs, number one, what they are, and then how they're able to be a kind of secure and authenticate transactions. Let's start with our basics for our audience on what NFTs are.
And again, like we did with the cryptocurrency show, I'm going to try to keep it simple. I think there's a lot of unknowns. There's probably even more unknowns around NFTs than there are around cryptocurrencies, which is quite interesting. But NFT, let's start there, is a non-fungible token. It's essentially a digital asset that links ownership to a unique physical or digital item. So now you have a digital asset that links ownership. That's the key thing right there. So an NFT links ownership. It proves that you are the owner of that item, and it could be a unique physical item or a unique digital item. The key word there is unique. So something that is fungible is something that is not unique. If I gave you $100, you would give me $100 back. But it could be in 100 single $1 bills, or it could be 520s or 1010s, but it's still $100. And in my mind, $100 is $100, right? So in the NFT world, it has to be unique, and that's what makes it different.
Absolutely. And that was an answer, I think, that most people could understand, at least a launching point for endeavoring to understand NFTs.
I hope so. Again, there's a lot of miseducation or lack of education out there. A lot of people are asking the question, I just don't get an NFT. Why would anybody spend $16 million on an NFT or $60 million on an NFT. That's not all NFTs. There are other use cases for NFTs. Those were NFTs that people are buying because they are new and they are original and they are the first.
Yeah, those are like the collector's items of the non-fungible token world, those $16 million ones.
Absolutely.
Yeah, makes so much sense. So Merrick, when we talk about securing and authenticating transactions and how NFTs can be used to fight fraud, for those that aren't involved really in the digital economy and may not understand this subject, let's talk about the authentication process in and of itself and how NFTs can be used.
Well, first of all, because everything resides on the blockchain, again, and we talked about that a little bit on the cryptocurrency side, but the blockchain is a public ledger that is secured by cryptography. So it's very similar with NFTs. NFTs reside on the blockchain. The largest blockchain for NFTs today is called the Ethereum blockchain. So Ethereum is a cryptocurrency, but it is also its own blockchain where you can have smart contracts, and NFTs are just one of the items that a smart contract can be associated with. So it's all about proof of ownership. So that NFT has proof of ownership embedded within the NFT. So there's certain data and rules in there that someone would have to, the validators would have to approve for it to be transferred to somebody else. Without those rules, it cannot be transferred. So it's hard to move something that isn't yours to someone else. So if you are the owner of that NFT, it resides on the blockchain. It has that proof of ownership and some other data. Some other data might be who minted the NFT. That's important because certain organizations will mint NFTs. And if you notice that an NFT wasn't minted by that organization, it could be a fake NFT. It also shows everybody that has owned the NFT. You might be the first, but you might not be the first. And forever, as long as that NFT lives, you will be on there if that is your NFT on somewhere ownership level. So it's quite fascinating. I'm a crypto expert. I'm not an NFT expert, but I'm really excited about NFTs and where we're going with NFTs.
Absolutely. And I love the idea that it's a way to authenticate. And, we had a discussion about how you can authenticate using these NFTs in a way like you would have used a stamp of authentication in the physical world, years ago or even presently. If you receive jewelry or sports goods, it comes with a seal of authentication. This NFT, however, is a digital version of that, like you said, that carries the history of the ownership, the minting, all of it within that NFT.
Absolutely. Now, can someone create fake NFTs? They could create fake NFTs, but you can always go back to the data contained within the NFT to see if it's fake, to see if it's a legit. Obviously, if you're buying a sporting ticket, that sporting ticket would be minted by that sporting organization. And if it wasn't minted by that organization, then it's a fake sporting ticket, and then you shouldn't buy it. So there are ways. It's not perfect. Again, you can fake NFTs, but you should be able to clearly understand if it's a legitimate NFT and something that you should buy, or if you have it, you could prove that is a legitimate NFT as well.
And Merrick, you and I just both use the term minting because we understand what it is in the concept of NFTs. But for those that might not understand that term, can you explain that for them, what minting is?
So it's kind of like minting a coin, right? We have one U.S. Treasury that mints coins. So if you're going to put something out into the marketplace, it's going to be that organization that puts it out there that's going to mint it. If it was a coin, it would be the U.S. Treasury. If it was a ticket to a collegiate football game, it's going to be that college or that university that's minting the ticket to the collegiate football game. So it's the organization on record that is producing the NFT. And they put them out there, and they only put so many out there, and they only put so many types out there. So they understand what they have and what is out there.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I kind of jumped into the NFT world myself. I created some art, and the whole process was very interesting. And part of it was that minting process. And you got to choose the number of mints or digital copies or versions of it that would be sold. So very interesting process. And even as I was going through it then, I likened it to when, in the art world, and we'll talk more about its use cases, but in the art world, when a print is produced, there are a certain number of prints. The fewer there are, the higher the value. The more there are, the lower the value. So very interesting how these terms, minting and just the production portion of it, have overlapped into this digital realm in NFTs. So very, very, very interesting and very exciting too. So you talked a lot about how this could be used to fight fraud, and this is a fraud-focused show. I love the idea of that and how we're able to use these tokens to authenticate. And we talked a little bit, I think, in our pre-interview about how it's kind of like a deed of registry. If you're buying a home, it would be like a deed of registry, where people could see who owned it, who it was transferred to, and they could authenticate this home or this piece of real estate is owned by this person, came from this person, and when it's transferred, that NFT is transferred along with them.
No, I think you pretty much summed it up. It really is going to excel at counterfeiting, because you can't counterfeit an NFT, a legitimate NFT. Again, you can create fakes, but because of the data that is in the smart contract, you understand if it's a real NFT, and you could look at that data and prove past ownership or current ownership that person is the owner of that NFT. So I'm really excited about what it's going to do with counterfeiting. It's not going to eliminate counterfeiting. Counterfeiting will always be around. It has always been around with everything we do. But it really is going to help limit and reduce counterfeiting, or at least give us a better idea on if something is counterfeited, because we can see the data, again, because it's on a public ledger, the blockchain, most of them on the Ethereum blockchain.
Yeah, amazing. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about NFTs, authentication and security, and how this has the potential to revolutionize the security game. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Down to Business with V. I'm your host, V, and today I have in the studio with me today fintech expert Merrick Theobald. He is the Vice President of Marketing at BitPay, and we are discussing NFTs, security, and authentication. Merrick, welcome back.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, we are glad to have you today. So for those that might have missed this very exciting discussion we're having about NFTs, very briefly recap what NFTs are and how they're used in some cases to authenticate purchases.
Okay. Well, let's start. What is NFT, right? NFT is an acronym for a non-fungible token. So it links ownership to a unique digital or physical item. So the key words being links ownership and then unique. So a typical fungible item would be something like I mentioned earlier. If you gave me $100 and I gave you a $100 bill and I gave you 5 20s back, that's still $100 to you. It's $100, right? So it has to be a unique item, and that's what makes it non-fungible.
Wow, very basic, where anybody can understand, and I love that, Merrick. I love the education portion that you bring. Merrick, we talked a little bit about how there were these $16 million NFTs, which is out of the realm of most consumers, but we kind of talked about how those are collector's items. And during the break, you mentioned Mark Cuban's NFT. Tell us about that.
So Mark Cuban actually sold an NFT of a quote that he gave some time ago, and I don't remember the exact quote, but it was a good quote. And built into his NFT sale, or the smart contract of the NFT, is that anytime that NFT is sold, and remember, he is no longer the owner. He was the original owner. He sold it. Someone else owns it. But anytime after that second owner sells it for the rest of that NFT's life, Mark Cuban will get 15% of the sale. So he's always going to be making money off of that NFT, even though he doesn't own it. So there's that opportunity as well.
That's amazing. I'm excited about that. Like I mentioned before, I kind of jumped into the NFT realm with some art, and the idea of selling it, especially something you created, is very personal. To number one, sell it, but to know that there's an opportunity to build in kind of like an incentive, even if it's sold. What's it called? A commission if it's sold. I love that idea.
It's especially great for young artists, up-and-coming artists. They might sell something for $5,000 or $10,000, but then they get name recognition, and that $10,000 item automatically goes to $100,000 or $1 million. Well, they missed out on that gain. But if they build it into the smart contract that they should get 5% or 10% every time that item is sold, they will always receive some proceeds back from the sale of that original artwork.
I love that. I absolutely love it. It ensures that there's some sort of payment for the work that was done. And you know, when we talk about the art world, you can use a non-fungible token to authenticate physical art in the 3D realm, or just as the art itself within the digital realm that can be used within the metaverse environments and other types of immersive environments.
Absolutely. And I think you said a key thing there, and I think that's for other use cases too. There is the metaverse, and then there's the real physical world that we're all living in today. And we really have to separate them too, especially when we get down to real estate, because there's real estate for the metaverse, which people are selling real estate in the metaverse, but NFTs can also be used for physical real estate, things that we buy and sell today that we're used to. So that was a good distinction there. But from an art perspective, absolutely. If you own a Picasso, you could have an NFT of that Picasso because it is unique. And then that will prove ownership to you that you own the original Picasso. And then it will always be part of that smart contract that you're an owner, and then even if it has another owner after that. And if you wanted to sell replicas of that Picasso, you could sell replicas and maybe say, I'm only going to sell 5,000 replicas of this. You still own the original, and then you have 5,000 replicas, and people will buy a replica. Because it's limited too, if you limit it to 5,000, that's only 5,000 and it's not 5 million or more. So there's a great interest in the NFTs.
Yeah, and you mentioned the replica. People buy replicas in the physical world, replicas of things, and I think it will be no different in the digital realm with replicas as well. Now we discussed the art piece and how NFTs are used in art. I think that might be one of the more possibly known forms of NFT use and the NFT use cases. I love that you had spoke about the use cases on luxury goods. Let's talk about that and what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. I especially like the NFTs for luxury goods because there is a lot of counterfeiting out there. You can walk the streets of any major city in the world, and they're going to sell you a counterfeit Gucci handbag. That's unfortunate for those that actually go and buy a legitimate, authentic Gucci handbag. That's unfortunate. So I imagine that luxury brands are going to start issuing their own NFTs to prove authenticity of that item. Will it get rid of counterfeits? No, because you're always going to have someone that wants to buy a $50 handbag versus a $10,000 handbag, right? So it's not going to get rid of them, but at least you have an authentic one. And if you buy one thinking it's authentic, that you can verify and confirm it's authentic. And that's the most important part. And again, when you're ready to sell it, you could transfer ownership over to the new owner of that handbag so that they know that it's authentic. So think about handbags, luxury watches, anything of value where you want to possibly use it as an investment and possibly sell it later. You want to have an NFT associated with that. And the NFT, again, would be minted by the luxury brand, and they would do it in their process so that it's authentic. And when you do it, you are the original owner of it.
Yeah, and that's huge for the resale market, which a lot of people partake in. I like the in-store experience for my luxury goods. I like to go in, I like to sit, I like the whole process. I like my things being boxed and bagged for me, you know. But there are people that enjoy that resale market, and for those, that NFT process, especially when it's minted by the creator of the luxury good, it will could literally stand to take away a huge amount of counterfeiting.
Absolutely.
In that resale process, for sure.
Right. Nope. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we talked about that and looked at the use cases for arts. I like what you said about sports. And you mentioned tickets, like how tickets are sold outside of these sporting events. Talk to us about how NFTs can help authenticate in those processes.
Well, any type of sport has a huge problem with counterfeiting again. Obviously, some of the most popular games around the world, people are trying to counterfeit and sell those counterfeit tickets to make that money. As a participant or a viewer of a sport, you don't always know if it's a legitimate, authentic ticket or if it's a counterfeit ticket. Sometimes it's hard to tell. But if you had the ticket as an NFT or an NFT that accompanies the ticket, then you have a greater chance to know that it is an authentic ticket. Again, you could transfer it to someone else, but you would have to transfer that NFT with it. So I'm not saying that physical tickets will go to the wayside, but maybe NFTs that are associated with the physical ticket will reduce or eliminate the counterfeiting of those tickets. So everybody has a phone, and that's all you need to prove ownership is a phone and the right app where that NFT resides. So I imagine it's very easy to do. So I think that's going to be a future for sports.
Yeah, I love the idea of that. I've not participated in sports, but I have, and when I say participated in a lot of attending of major sporting events, but I have heard that people get taken in ticket scalping fraud. It's amazing what fraudsters will do. So this will kind of make it a little less likely for people to be taken in scams like that.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah, for sure. Real estate. You and I were down in Miami on a panel about real estate. So we're seeing some of the things that they're doing there. Talk to us about how NFTs can be used in that the security process as far as real estate.
Well, I mean, because NFTs are governed by a smart contract, there's already a contract in place. So nothing can happen unless the rules of that contract are fulfilled. So in real estate, there's also contracts, right? You can't do anything with this until this happens. So it's taking everything digitally and it's making it that much easier. So there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to go buy a piece of property, and once I make payment, that title of that property is automatically transferred to me. If the payment is good, the ownership of the land is good, I should get an NFT of that title. So I have that NFT immediately. I have my title immediately. It resides with me. And in the future, if I want to sell it, it gets transferred to the next person. There's many different use cases for real estate. But again, it's all about making things faster, better, easier. And there is fraud in real estate. So this is hopefully going to reduce fraud in real estate because that it's on the blockchain and because smart contracts are associated with the NFTs. Absolutely.
And my part in one of the conferences that we did together was to present the fraud trends that were happening within the real estate transaction processes. And this does have the potential to cut out a large number of that. Just being able to authenticate a purchase from start to finish, it'll make it a whole lot easier.
Absolutely. And I read an article somewhere where they compared this to the traditional phone companies. And the VoIP system came out, which is voice over internet protocol. So now you don't need a landline. You have this VoIP that comes in, and the phone companies weren't paying attention to VoIP. And next thing you knew, VoIP is key and a prominent player in the phone industry. So banks have to pay attention to NFTs. Real estate companies have to pay attention to NFTs because it is going to change the way that real estate transactions happen. Absolutely.
It's transforming the technology industry, number one. It is currently being discussed in banking, I can tell you that for sure, being in financial sector operations and every other sector of industry as well. We didn't get to touch on it, but the aviation industry, major airlines are offering NFTs as well. So it is revolutionizing the game. Well, Merrick, thank you so much for being here today. We certainly do appreciate you and all of the insight you shared on NFTs, making it understandable for anybody that's just hearing of this and maybe had questions about it. We certainly do appreciate you.
It was my pleasure. Thank you again.
I'd like to thank our guest, fintech expert and Vice President of Marketing for BitPay, Merrick Theobald. Thank you so much for all of the insight and expertise you shared with our audience today. We certainly do appreciate you. If you or someone you know has been a victim of a data breach, account compromise, or any other type of cybercrime, be sure to visit your local police department or contact the FBI at ic3.gov. Also visit our sponsors, Vicar Group LLC, business consultants for Generation U at vicargroup.com. I'd like to thank you for watching, and I'd like to thank our crew today, Hannah, Peter, Eric, Stephen, Suzanne, and Doug, for all you do to make this show possible every week. We certainly do appreciate you. If you would like to be a guest on the show, if you'd like to sponsor the show, or if you have show ideas, be sure to visit us at dtbwithv.com. I'm your host, V. This is Down to Business with V, and we'll see you next time.